and that this is Autism Month. April is officially Autism Month, and that's why we are connecting with Mary Klinkradt. Mary, thank you so much for your time. So great to be connected to you this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan and Rachel, for having me. It's a real privilege to be on the show.
So in this month, and us as CCFm shining a spotlight on the individuals, the families, organizations that are making a real difference in the space of autism. And one such organization is Raising Hope South Africa, founded by a remarkable young woman, Ashlyn, when she was just 13 years of age. And she launched that initiative inspired by her younger brother, David, who was born with Down syndrome. Ashlyn started this journey at just 6 years old, and today her heart for inclusion continues to grow. So Raising Hope SA works to support families and does what they can in that space. And such an honor to be chatting to Ashlyn's mom, Mary. So Mary, let's get straight into it. Can you tell us a bit about what inspired Ashlyn to start Raising Hope South Africa and how your family's personal journey helped shape the vision of this incredible organization?
Well, Jonathan, when she was very little, as you said, 6 years old, she did her first fundraiser for children with Down syndrome. It was really an extension of having been to awareness events and seen other kids with Down syndrome and realized that there was a difference in what those kids had access to compared to what her brother had access to in terms of things such as therapy and schooling and, or, you know, just being exposed to experiences that could benefit him. So she decided to do a fundraiser. Her very first fundraiser, she asked her peers for 7 Rand for her 7th birthday. Now, obviously, parents feel very guilty giving somebody 7 Rand for a birthday. So she got a lot more in donations, and she also got gifts, which I think was a really great encouragement for a 7-year-old to continue. And it just never stopped there. Every year she did a fundraiser from then on. She also did a couple of awareness campaigns, put together a play around understanding people who are different and toleration of people who are different. And when she was 13, she just felt the need to take her fundraising and her community service up a level. So she started Raising Hope South Africa. It really was influenced by her lived experience with her brother. She also has a younger brother who has mild cerebral palsy. So she really did have a lived experience around disabilities and what was out there. And it just stemmed from that.
Oh, that is absolutely incredible, Mary. Thank you for sharing with us. Autism is often misunderstood, though, especially when it comes to the faith communities. What are some of the common myths or misconceptions when it comes to autism that you would like to address today?
Well, I think one of the first things is that people with autism don't have emotions. Really, a lot of the thoughts are around that because people with autism don't express themselves, especially they don't have facial expressions, they don't use words to express I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling happy. There's a lot of ideas around it that people with autism actually don't have any emotions, that they don't experience emotions, that they don't feel what other people feel, that they don't have empathy. And that really is a big misconception. People with autism feel emotions just the same as everybody else. They do just struggle with expressive language in terms of explaining those emotions. They often struggle with something called alexithymia, which is an inability to identify their own emotions. So therefore, they can't express those emotions. And just having not very expressive faces in general, you can't see those emotions. So that is the first misconception, is that people with autism don't have empathy or emotions. Right. The second one related to that would be that people with autism don't want friends or don't want to engage with other people. Often they are seen as being loners, and unfortunately, because of struggles with social communication and verbal communication, they are often excluded from groups, from friend groups, from conversations, leading to an increase in that misconception that they don't actually want those friendships. Nothing could be further from the truth. Every person that I've met with autism wants to engage with people. They want friendships, they want connection, they want community. They just struggle so much with reading social cues. There are a lot of subtle verbal social cues that we express in everyday communications, which people with autism struggle to do. They struggle to read facial communications, facial cues, and they struggle with social integration. For example, when do we answer a question in a conversation? When do we interject in a conversation? When do we take a turn in a conversation? People with autism often have special interests, and those might be a bit out of the beaten path. So it might be on dinosaurs, it might be about train timetables. It really can be anything. And so they have to be very careful about where we talk about such conversations and talk about our special interests. And autistic people often struggle with finding the balance between talking about special interests and really just overloading the other person with information. I think those are two of the big cues. The third misconception is that people with autism have intellectual disability, and that is not true. There is a spectrum for autism, and that spectrum includes intellectual abilities. You do have some people who are very, very gifted, also known as savants. They are specialists in areas with incredible talents. And then you get the average person who has average intellectual disability. They will go to school, they will complete their matrics, they will go on to university. And then you get those who do have intellectual disability. And this could be mild to profound. And we really don't know where a person sits with autism and intellectual ability, simply because we don't see the struggles that they may have. So just looking at a person, you cannot understand their disability in terms of intellect.
Sure, that is incredible. Thank you so much, Mary. And so on point, just busting those myths. That's what it's really all about.
Absolutely.
As we start to wrap up, because we don't have a lot of time, just in terms of some of the work that you do as Raising Hope South Africa, I understand that you guys do some training and helping churches, Sunday schools, etc. Talk to us about that briefly as we wrap up, please, Mary.
Yes, Jonathan, one of our passions is about getting the faith community into inclusion. A lot of our faith communities do not intend to be exclusive, but they really are. We do not have accessible buildings. We do not have accessible content. We do not have accessible services in terms of sensory experiences for people with autism. So we do training workshops to churches for kids ministry, for general leadership, on different disabilities, not only autism, but how do we accommodate people with disabilities? What is the church's mission in terms of disabilities? And what can we do better to make sure we include families and people with disabilities into the church and into faith? We don't want them just to be attending church. We want them to be in a place where they can minister to others, where they feel like they actually belong and have a home. So we do training on that. We do short 3-hour courses with individual churches. We do training that is open to all churches, and we can tailor our training according to the church's needs as well.
That is brilliant.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Mary, as we wrap up the conversation this morning, and that's actually been really, really good and very insightful as well, can you give us details if people would like to contact Raising Hope South Africa, please?
Yes, sure. They can phone me on 074-934-6279, or they can email me on mary@raisinghopesa.com. Our website is raisinghopesa.com. And that's our contact details.
Fantastic. That number again, please, Mary.
074-934-6279.
Fantastic. Mary, such an honor and a privilege to chat to you. Thank you for sharing. And the great thing is that Mary's got some own personal testimonies that she's going to be sharing in our Story of Hope segment. That's after 8 o'clock, so around about 13 minutes past 8. So please stick around for that if you can. It'll be so good, so encouraging. Mary Klinkradt, really incredible work doing that Raising Hope South Africa is doing. And thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Lately it feels like I'm